And we are back to talk to Public Works today for our budget conversation. Mark, we appreciate you being here. What I'm going to do is take a moment to recognize some elected officials in the back, turn it over to Talia, and then she's going to turn it back to you, and you can introduce anybody that you've brought with you today. So first, let me just give a shout out to Councilman Bill Pridemore, who's in the back, who is the budget chair for the Metro Council budget process. We also have Council Member Russ Pulley. We have Council Member Larry Hager. We have Council Member Tanaka Vercher. And I think I've got everybody. Thank you, council members, for being here. We appreciate it. So, Talia?
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. The Public Works Department oversees sidewalk and street construction, traffic signs and signals, transportation licensing, and trash collections. Their current year budget from Metro is $50.6 million. Solid waste is $24.4 million. They have grants of $182,000, other funding of $9.6 million, and they have 395 budgeted FTEs. They have come forward with a budget request for FY17 for a $3 million budget improvement, which includes 13 FTEs. And Mr. Macy is prepared to speak to those specific improvements.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Please, Mark, take it away.
Opportunity. Today I brought with me Sharon Wallstrom, who is our Director of Finance, Assistant Director of Finance. I brought Don Reed, who handles our capital programs and primarily paving, our new infrared machine, our potholes. And I have Sharon Smith with us, who is over our community beautification group. And I'm pleased to be here representing the 395 Public Works employees who work out in our streets every day, keeping them clean, keeping them safe. And we appreciate this opportunity.
And Mark, before you start, let me just say a shout out to the Public Works employees who do such great work for our city. I think you may have seen the very first budget hearing that we started with, where we talked specifically about one of my goals this year is to make sure that our Metro employees who work really hard for all of us are recognized in this budget. So please tell them thank you for all they do.
I will. Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, I listened to Nancy's presentation yesterday, and I wanted to tell you I was so happy to hear you remember about the snow plows. So.
I did. I remembered about the snow plows.
But you know, that was
65 degrees outside. Why were we talking about snow plows?
Because he said, please remember when it's 65 degrees out.
But that, you know, we had 8 inches of snow that, January, February, and it's the most snow we've had in 20 years, and everybody rose up, the entire Metro government. Your team did a great job. I wanted to have one shout out to Sean Braystead. I thought he handled the whole event very well.
Great. I'll tell him that. Thank you.
Mayor, I don't have a long presentation.
But you got a long list.
As Rich knows. But I'm asking for, we do have 12 FTEs that we were asking for this budget. We actually turned in a 3-year budget for a total of 24 FTEs.
Okay.
But all I want to do, Mayor, is to propose a way to pay for that without costing the government money. And if I can present that proposal to you.
Sure.
Then we'll just talk, okay? So this proposal is aimed at reducing traffic congestion, keeping our city cleaner, and allowing the people doing all the construction and tearing up our streets and sidewalks to help pay for that. Our proposal does not increase the budget for the FTEs. Okay. The contract additions is a different story, but Talia and Sharon can deal with that. So part of our problem, and you know this, last week Music Row was blown up.
Yep.
And we got so many people working in our streets, and these FTEs, a lot of these FTEs are to help us watch these people work. But the people that are ripping up our streets are causing so much problem. They're closing lanes, they're closing sidewalks, and I mean, all the construction's good, It's good for our economy, but it is disrupting all of our people who are trying to get to work and go home, go to the grocery and things like that. So what we're proposing is to increase the permit fees, and it's a modest increase, and it's also an increase that we would have to go to council on.
Right.
And we're prepared to carry that load, to go to council and propose some changes in the fees, primarily in the areas that are where 75% of the work is being done. And that's the downtown loop, the Midtown Loop, and the Briley Parkway Loop. So if you can picture that area of our county, that's where, like I said, 75% of our permits are written. So we would propose in those areas to raise the fees so that the community places, the grandma, grandpa don't have to pay the higher fees. You know, their meter breaks. We don't want them to pay all this money to get their water meter fixed. So our recommendation is we aim on the downtown area and let those contractors pay the burden of this rate increase.
How is that going to help me with the coordination of all the other people who are working? Because are you saying that this increase will help pay for then somebody who will have the responsibility or eyes on a project where maybe you have multiple companies who need to get access, and so somebody's going to be there to watch? I'm trying to understand how this...
Well, we got, this would be what I call a long-term solution. We have a short-term, immediate solution, which I'd be happy to discuss with you, but on the short term, we want to hire some contractors to beef up our inspectors so that we can watch these people closer.
Right.
That's a sort of a conversation I haven't had yet with Talia.
Yes, she did look surprised.
Where'd that come from?
So in fairness to Talia, we haven't talked yet, but we do have a way to bring in some contractors to, on the short term, take care of that. And in the long term, we would use these fee increases to hire more people.
And so let me just make sure, is that accounted for in this budget request? Is that the contractual needs? Is that the $834,000?
No, that's not
No,
what
that's
that
something
is.
else. Okay, just making sure. Okay. All right.
But Mark, you think you can, subject to finance approval, you could start immediately with using some contractors to oversee some of this work?
Yes, sir. We should have more contractors coming in next week.
Good.
Okay, good.
And we're behind the 8 ball right now. We were expecting these fiber optic companies to be going on overhead 90% of it. They decided they couldn't afford to go overhead, so now they're drilling. And
Right,
so
but that's costing us money
We got caught
Perhaps we should
behind the 8 ball.
incentivize them
to go up.
to increase it one way or the other to do it, because it's creating a real disruption for our community.
It is.
As you know, we've talked about it.
And we got 4 more coming.
We want the access, we want the
bet.
product, but, it seems like, because of the fee structure and all that, there's no incentive for them to maybe incur some more upfront costs.
You're exactly right.
Well, and the fact that you say you've got 4 more coming, with just using Music Row as a good example, where, by the way, thank you to your folks for coming and picking up all the bricks that also had to get removed in order to fix the water break. What happens when next week the next company comes and they want to go down in the same place? I mean, that's the stuff that I know that you're working with Mark Sturdivant in our office and others on, but that to me is the piece that we need to get on.
Right.
So,
You're right.
And to your point, maybe it's better to go up than down. But
This is making my conversation with Talia much easier next week.
I don't know.
we'll figure this out. All right, so staffing, continuing with staff requests, FTEs. Let's talk about the 12 FTEs that you want that are
Do
just...
you have in here?
that you do have, the general operating needs, just 12 FTEs. Talk to me about, if I'm watching from home and you need this 12 FTEs, how's that going to make my life better?
Well, number one, we hope to keep the roads open more often and the sidewalks open more often and reduce congestion.
Okay?
We're You know, we're already working on a traffic congestion project.
Right.
With all of our signals.
So
That's
this would-
already going on.
So some of these FTEs would help with,
That'll be a Monday discussion.
okay, is that a PIP?
Yeah, that's a PIP.
All right.
But we're asking, Mayor, for 4 people for a downtown cleaning crew. And this is another short-term, long-term problem. We're picking up trash 7 days a week, and we're picking up cardboard 5 days a week downtown. And it's for certain places. And so we're going to have to go down there and work this out with these people and see if we can't figure out a better solution than throwing everything in carts.
Yep.
And, see if we can't locate some compactors or some dumpsters or things like that. So that's something that we're going to have to do with the downtown.
Are you working on the glass for me?
And we are working on the glass, and we're going to put out a proposal, and we'll see what it costs. That proposal and future discussions could help incentivize our people downtown to think about recycling or going to aluminum or going to cups.
All right.
So 4 people were to help us keep the downtown clean, which I know is not the neighborhoods, but it's still, if our people coming to work have to walk around cardboard or trash cans or things like that, then it's not good for them. We have 3 people for our infrared truck that we ordered last year.
That's the pothole one, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
But as a very smart lady told me, it's sort of the chicken and the egg thing. You got to have both. Which one do you get first? In this case, the truck took 9 months to get here. By the time you go through the process, you buy it, you order it, they build it. It's now in town. We have 8,000 people here in town this week at the World of Asphalt.
Yeah, I've been getting the messages from the Worlds of Asphalt folks. It's been-
Don's been excited all week because he got.
I mean,
he
hey,
went down
I'm
there.
excited. It's,
How'd they get on that list?
But our truck is
you're on the list too?
Our truck is on display at the World of Asphalt.
Really?
Yes. So as soon as they get done looking at it, we're going to bring it back and break it in.
Good.
But we do need 3 people to run that truck. This would be an additional service for people to keep our potholes and bad sections in the road fixed. The infrared patching machine is a much more permanent type of patch. So it costs more money, it takes a little more time, but once we do it, we're out of there until we have to resurface a street. Potholes are much shorter term solution, filling
Right,
those. So
sure.
This is actually a very nice piece of equipment. We have 2 permit inspectors, which we talked about a little bit before. This is starting on building up that staff. I still think, Mayor, that we're doing the right thing to hire contractors for a short-term problem versus hiring too many people permanently for a short-term problem, if you know what I mean. So we're doing the right thing here. And then we have 3 people for our paving inspection program. And this is a proposal where we have to get a little creative on how we finance things. We're using capital funds right now to hire contractors to inspect our paving work. But our paving program, as you know, is a continuous cycle. Metro government will be paving streets as long as we live and as long as our sons and daughters live. It just keeps coming back. And so if you can develop a good program, and Don has done that, he has developed probably the best program in the United States for fixing roads. We just need to line up the manpower to run that program, because we can actually do it a little cheaper than a vendor can, because we're not out to make profit on it. We have a lot of the same costs, but profit's not one of them. So this is, again, thinking smart and looking ahead to build that program to where it needs to be. And so if you do add people to this function, the paving inspection, you're increasing your operating and you're decreasing your capital. So that's where we have to think different. It's all taxpayer dollars.
Or you're being able to pave more roads.
Right.
With the same amount of capital.
Correct.
Either way.
Yes. But to, the normal person, it's taxpayer dollars. So, and that's the 12.
Wow. That's great. Talia, any questions?
You might want to touch on special events, Mark, because that's a big
Yes,
number.
a big number.
special events was a
That's worth
proposed
talking. Yep.
fee increase. Thank you, Talia. And the largest fee increases was related to the excavation and the temporary closure permits. That's where most of the fee increases come. The other one was the parking meter rates, which we're talking to Rich about and Talia. And then the last one were special events permits, where, again, we have promoters come into our town because it's the place to be, and they're bringing in these events that they want to do, closing our streets, closing our sidewalks, and then they're scraping in the money and going back to Chicago. So this, again, is a permit increase to help get these fees more in line. Mayor, we looked at 10 or 20 cities.
Okay.
We looked across the United States, looked at the excavation fees, looked at the closure fees, got them all lined up for what would this type of fee cost in these cities. And they're all over the board.
Sure.
But ours have not been touched since 2004, am I right?
On the excavation and temporary
And
street closures.
special permit, I think, 05?
97.
Oh, 97, thank you.
Okay.
So, $30, you can come in and have an event and close all the streets.
Yeah, it seems
we
like
gotta
maybe
think about
the new structures in order.
So Claudia's, she's
Yep,
got
I
that
know
under
Claudia's working on
control.
it, so.
We just need to raise the money and it'll help us
Okay.
reduce congestion.
All right. Rich, any questions?
We probably ought to just spend a minute talking about capital,
Okay.
because you need some, or would
Right.
like some, I suspect. Mr. Reed would like some for paving. I think Don sitting there back there would like some paving. So the bulk of your, we don't need to get all the details, but your capital request would be for paving, some street works, street improvements,
Paving, sidewalks,
sidewalks, of course.
bridges, traffic, and just general road work.
Right.
No individual projects, but just what I call maintenance work, intersection work, things like that.
And yesterday, we talked with Nancy, we talked about fleet, and
Yep.
asked her to look at some of the bigger pieces of equipment, stuff that has a long lifespan, 15, 20 years.
Right.
And to sort of get a list of those put together to see if we might not want to include some of those in a capital program rather than relying on 4% funds.
Okay.
Because of the lifespan of those
Right.
vehicles, it's, I think, justifiable. And because of the other demands on the 4% fund for library you just heard and all
Right.
the miscellaneous stuff, to look at that. So as you get back to your office and you think about that as well, because some of your equipment, like this infrared thing was, how much did that cost, that piece of equipment? Don't tell me.
Yeah, don't say that loud.
But it should last
10 to 15
a while.
years.
Hopefully.
Hopefully, yeah.
More than 2
Mr. Reed's going to take good care of it and every day and make it work a long time.
Well, excellent question. We do, besides our $75 million operating budget, we typically, last year, we had $73 million in capital funds.
Yep.
And these funds are needed to keep our city running, to keep our traffic signals working. Every day, people drive our roads, drive through our signals, and we got them all working. So we need to keep up, we need to take care of the assets we've invested in, is the best way I can say it. And so,
Takes money.
Okay.
And then on the fee increases, you've been talking with finance and legal, and I assume in terms of getting all the information together for those.
We have talked with finance. I have not talked to legal yet. Be glad to do that. And then, with your permission, talk to some council members. Because like I said, we don't mind carrying the ball on this.
There's 4 who heard it.
That's right. There's 4 right back
There's
there.
4 you can start with. We'll see where we go.
Sign right here.
Give them a piece of paper to sign, go from there, we'll go forward. But I think that conceptually makes a lot of sense. I mean, we all are, the burden of this growth needs to be spread around us.
Right.
And we need,
Like I
that's
said,
the way to do
they're
it.
10, 11 years old.
Right.
Time to look at them.
Exactly. Anything else from you all? All right. Well, thank you so much for being here. Again, thanks for all you do. We appreciate you both. And we'll see you soon.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thanks.
Thank you, Ty.
Thank you. Thanks.